All right. So Tina, 90 seconds. Tell us your favorite story of Family Promise.
There was a family whenever I first started Family Promise that came in. It was a 2-parent family with one child. Father had warrants against his arrest. The time we weren't able to take them because we couldn't have people with felonies. Because of my previous connections, I was able to take him down to the courthouse, get all of his warrants wiped away, and we moved him in that night. They were in the program for 60 days, and I just got a call from him a couple months ago and says he owns his own home, he has his own business, and they have a new child. So that is just an ultimate success for me. It is an opportunity for families just to get ahead. And this father actually begged us to take his wife and his daughter, and he would sleep in the car. I said that's not acceptable. We're gonna do what we can to fix that.
So that's really a kind of a family promise, right? Yeah. Like, yeah, what?
Nah, I mean, I don't think too good. So it's like,
Yeah,
Okay, whatever. Just do whatever you can for here.
you can to make sure that my wife and my child are taken care of. It. I'll sleep in the car in the parking lot. I'm like, no. We're gonna go over and above and beyond, and we're gonna make sure that you get in the program.
So we're looking forward to this great conversation that I had with Tina. You're going to learn about their wait list for Family Promise, why some of the stuff that is going on and what we can do about it as a community, her why behind it, which is quite fascinating. And then at the end, she's going to talk to you about this kind of crazy hobby and group that she's a part of that totally blew me out of the water. And I think it'll surprise you as well. Yeah. So the Family Promise, how long has it been here? So it's a national thing, right?
It's a national organization. So Family Promise National started about 38 years ago in New York and New Jersey. In 2018, a group from national office came to Tulsa and thought, well, yes, the services are needed here as well. And there were several of the faith groups that actually got together, and including Christ Church, and decided that yes, we needed a Family Promise here. It took a little bit to get the funding together to get the organization open, but in July of 2018, we opened our doors for the very first time and welcomed our first family.
It's great. How many? So 2018, so that's 6 years ago.
Yes.
How many families? What is? So let's help us practically come walk through it. So what does if a family reaches out to Family Promise? How do you get connected? How do you get connected with people who are in need?
So we're very well known. People can go to Unite Us 211. They walk up to a church and say, I need help. And most of the congregations know to come to us, and they know that we know that they know what we do. So word of mouth is not a problem. So people know that we're here. The only problem with that is people know we're here, and the need for our services far outweighs our capacity. And this very moment, we have 139 families on our wait list, which is devastating.
So 139. These are people that are currently without a stable house.
Correct.
They might be staying with a friend. They might be in and out of shelters.
Correct. They may be in and out of shelters. They may be living in their car.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people couch surf, and then you're not really welcome. You can only do that for so long. So yes, 139 families currently on our wait list.
And how many families do you all have in your? Because you all have a kind of a permanent housing. You used to rotate between churches and mass places, and now you're my wife works for Pearl's Oak at Circle Care. So I know where you all are. But so tell us about kind of your current arrangement. What that looks like.
Well, we currently have 6 apartments, and we are the only agency in Tulsa besides the Tulsa Transitional Living Center that keeps families together. So we have 6 apartments. 4 of them are on the women's only campus. So we can't have any men there, but men are very important to us and single fathers. So we have 2 apartments out at 71st and Lewis that for either 2-parent families or single fathers.
Yeah. So then, so they wait 139 people. They come to you.
Mhm.
What are some of the things that you all do? How long is somebody there at Family Promise? Like, what's the process like when somebody comes in, finally gets into the door to when they leave? What's that kind of journey at?
So the program used to be 30, 60, or 90 days. Because we have such a horrible housing crisis, we have extended that they can stay up to 5 months if needed. And a lot of people have been taking advantage of it just because the lack of affordable housing and, everything that's going on. But when families come into our program, um, it's amazing to watch them from day one because, they're filled with uncertainty and they don't know where their next meal is coming from. They're staying awake at night because they want to make sure that their children are safe from the time that we actually take them to the apartment. And another thing too, we have no shared space. So our families are welcomed into fully furnished apartments and they have no shared space. And the best part about that is unless the children are old enough and cognitive enough, they have no idea they're homeless. And that is so precious to my heart because, the trauma of homelessness on children is just, it's heartbreaking. It is truly heartbreaking. And the fact that this is their home until they find a home of their own is just amazing. I can't even tell you how many moms have hugged the stove because they haven't been able to feed their child or cook their favorite meal for their child in months, being doubled up or sleeping in the car. I've had single fathers that have done snow angels on the carpet because they were sleeping outside while their children were sleeping in somebody else's couch or whatever. Just to have that space of their own is just amazing. We welcomed a family in a couple months ago that the little girl, they had been couch surfing. And when we took them up to the apartment, each family gets their own code. It's their own home. They go in there and the little girl punched in the code and she went to the bathroom immediately and she started screaming, just like wailing, screaming. And she came out of the bathroom almost literally trying to strip herself, saying, "There's a bathtub, Mom. There's a bathtub, Mom." And this little girl was like 5 and she hadn't been able to take a bath in months. I mean, just those little things that you don't think about and we take it for advantage. So of course we went and bought bathtub toys for this little girl. And we were like, "Honey, you just got to wait a few minutes and then, I'll let you take a bath." But we've had families that have just been told no so many times. And we recently welcomed a 2-parent family that was just new in the interview. We were going to tell them no because he had some criminal background. We're willing to work with anyone as long as they're willing and ready to take that next step and get back on their feet. And when we brought them in, our case manager, both the mom and the dad just started bawling and just says, "We can't tell you how many times we've heard no. We were never expecting to hear a yes." And that's very powerful. Just to give these people the opportunity and these families and parents the opportunity to make a better life for themselves and their children.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to talk about kind of the theory of housing and some stuff here in a little bit, but so they come in, they fully furnished apartment.
Yes.
I know that meals are provided by churches or other organizations typically. So typically, yeah. So just kind of what are some of the things that just help them to get stability in this, what is a temporary season, right? 3, 4, 5 months. But so that tell me just a little more about this.
Seniors come in, they don't have to have income. They do not have to have jobs. But one of the requirements for being part of Family Promise is you do have to have a job by day 30. Because we're all about self-sufficiency, we will never, it's not about dependency.
Yep.
We want you to make sure that you're wanting to make a better life for yourself and your children. So we do have a qualification that they do have to start working by day 30. And we also partner with local, like Still She Rises and things like that. And so if they need to take like a short-term classes, they can do that. And that could be their job instead. So if they want to do like phlebotomy or CNA or something like that, we have partnerships with like Goodwill and things like that where they can take short-term classes to be able to actually make a good living after they graduate. But they do have to be working by day 30. We do have a financial literature program that they're required to do and a family savings account. So we want to get these families used to paying rent. So they actually have to pay a certain portion. We in one of the case management meetings, the few case management meetings, we go over a budget with them. And we say, "Okay, how much do you want to save? How much do you want to have at the end? We're going to give that to you." And then they set this goal and then they meet this goal. This on the weekly case management meetings, they have to pay in. We have an account that we deposit it to. It's their money. 100% of it's theirs. But if they come and say, "Okay, I need to pay this application fee to this apartment complex," we can write it out of that.
Okay.
And then at the end, whenever they graduate, we just write the whole check back to them. But that gets them used to own something. And even if it's a small portion, it still gets them in the rhythm of, oh, I have to set this money aside and I have to be able to budget and I have to be able to do that. So we do have the financial literature classes that is required. And other than that, we just really want to help. We just want to give the families an opportunity to take a breath, because there is such a struggle, excuse me, whenever you're trying to, care for yourself and care for your children, and not having a stable place to live is just, it's mind boggling. And then we have weekly goals. There are things that families do have to have in order to be housed. So they have to have birth certificates. They have to have their social security cards. They have to have, IDs. We purchase all of them. So that's one of the first things that we go over. So if you don't have this, you know what? We're going to get it for you. Because in order to have stable housing, these are the things that you have to have in order. So we're just working with them every single week to say, okay, what are your goals this week? Do you have food stamps? If not, let's get you applied. And then we follow up the next week. Did you do it? Okay, if not, why? So we're not going to do it for them. We're going to help them, because at the end of the day, if we do it for them, what are they going to do whenever they leave?
Yeah.
So we just give them every tool that they possibly need to succeed, and we push them along the way, and we're there to help them, but we're not going to do it for them because we're all about self-sufficiency. We will never be about dependency.
Yeah. So let's say, here's a hammer.
Yes.
This is how you swing the hammer.
Yes.
But if you swing the hammer, it's totally up to you.
Totally.
And these are the consequences if you don't swing.
Yes.
So I don't know. What is it like? I mean, you've got success stories.
Yes.
And you probably got stories that are just heartbreaking. I mean, people, just for like your perspective, what is it like when you said, here's the hammer, here's how you swing the hammer, here's what you do, and they don't do that? What's it like for you? How do you handle that?
It is absolutely heartbreaking, but I've been here for a little over 5 years, and it's not all unicorns and rainbows. I wish it was. Sometimes families just aren't ready. And if they're not ready, we're not here just to pay your rent for 3 months, to take you out of homelessness, or 5 months and then put you right back in.
Yeah.
You have to want to make a better life for yourself and your children. We've had to remove people because no matter what, they're like, I'm not going to work at McDonald's, or I'm not going to do this. And so I just want to sit here and then not do anything. And that's not what our program is, because we have 139 families on our waiting list.
Yeah.
It's hard to have somebody that's just not willing and not ready to do it. We transition them out. Like I said, if they don't have it's a 30-day, every 30 days they're evaluated. And if they're meeting their goals and everything like that, we can extend them. If not, we have to transition them out. And it's not always pretty, and it breaks my heart because I know it's not the children's fault.
Yeah.
But then again, you have to think we can't care more than they do. And although that's really difficult for us to do, sometimes we do have to do that.
Yeah. I just was thinking of that. And like you said, the children, and you just want that.
You want that.
As we think about, the long-term sustainability, the need, the overall need in Tulsa and in our community. And now when we say families, how many kids do you, what are, I mean, I have one kid, obviously. What's the most kids that you all have?
Because we do not own our apartments, we do have to stay within certain guidelines.
Yeah.
At the Circle of Care, we can go a little higher than we can at the other units. But probably the max we could put for a 2-parent family is probably 2 parents. And if the children are really, really young, probably 3 to 4 kids.
Yeah.
That is max. We're not technically supposed to have more than two heartbeats per room. And so technically, but if it's like a newborn or something, we do tend to stretch it. But I would love to be able to have a unit where I can help big families, because honestly, I just don't have the capacity to help large families. So like we've had multiple calls where it's a mom with 7 children, or a 2-parent family with 5 kids. Although it breaks my heart, I just don't have the capacity to do that. So at our Circle of Care, we have 2 efficiency units, a 1-bedroom unit and a 2-bedroom unit.
Yeah.
We get a lot of kids in that 2-bedroom. Yeah. So it just depends upon the size of the family. And the efficiencies, depending upon the age, we have beds that we can move around, bunk beds, and all kinds of stuff. So we can probably get a mom with 2 to 3 kids if they're small in the efficiency. So it just depends. So we try to do what we can to help everybody that we can. But I really do wish that we had the capacity to help the much larger families, and we just don't, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously every family's
Their own dynamics.
And that's one thing, again, as I'm thinking more about, like, about the recent mayor election, and there was, I mean, homelessness and the crisis of housing, which I really think is it's more of a housing crisis than it is a homelessness crisis. So these are probably two very different things in some ways. And I think about those big families and like, what do you do? And so, but I mean, the need
139 families on our waiting list currently
is just, I don't know.
it's astronomical. It really, it's heartbreaking. And I think what the main problem is too, is people are being priced out of their homes. We have, a lot of families that, the rent is going up and their wages are not, and it's not matching. It's not. And so people are literally being priced out of their homes. I can't tell you how many, people call. We do have a new program. In addition to the apartment shelter program, we do have a prevention diversion program that started in February. And we received a grant from the national office of $15,000. I know it's not much, but we have been able to grow that. And so we're not only helping homeless families, we're actually helping prevent homelessness. So since February, we've been able to raise additional money. We have enough budgeted to help $5,000 per month. As you can imagine, it goes really, really quickly. It opens the first Monday of the month at 6 a.m. and it opened this Monday, and we closed the portal when we got there in less than an hour. So we had enough. We had over 30 families apply in less than 4 hours, and over $47,000 in requests. We were able to help every month. We're able to help from anywhere from 5 to 12 families, just depends. So we are trying to help people from becoming homeless too, but there's that need is just so great. So, but since February, we've paid out a little over $48,000. We've helped 80 families, and we've kept 149 children in their own beds. So we're trying to stop it before it starts. And I would love to grow that program as well. Because like I said, we do have enough funding through, March of next year. So $5,000 doesn't go, but you know what? The way I look at it, it's only $5,000, but again, it's only $5,000. And I struggled with it because the need is so great. But then I look back and I go, you know what? I can't help everybody, but I am blessed to help the ones we can. And you know what? To those 8 to 12 families that we help every month, we're their everything. And although we can't meet the greater need of everybody, those families are succeeding and they're staying in their home. And we've had from moms that a single mom that had to miss a week's worth of work because her child was sick and was short $300 on her rent. And she received a 5-day notice to evict for $300 short on her rent. So we were able to get her, stabilized. To a mom that had insurance and was on leave because she was having cancer treatments, and 60% of her salary for 5 or 6 months wasn't enough to cover all the bills. So she was short like $900, and she was able to go back to work, but not for like 3 weeks. So she was just this little short amount of time that she needed help. So we paid the $900, and she's back to work, and everything's wonderful. And that program has a 98% success rate.
Okay.
So we're not only housing homeless families, we're trying to stop it before it starts.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm talking with Jeff James, and I know they've done a lot of that stuff as well. And just, if you can, I mean, and that, all these factors, I mean, I think sometimes we get in our mind that, okay, these people who are without homes, what did they do wrong? And it's like, they got cancer.
Yes.
Right. Or, their kid was sick, or their rent, their family raised their rent, or, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And through, or learn, I mean, I'm experts about that. Parents who talk to me about money. Okay? But if you don't have somebody who talks to you about money, and you never learn those skills, and even though I think it's required, I've got a freshman in high school, and I think it's required to have some sort of financial literacy.
Nice book. But but lots of times it's it's just those little things. Like we had a 2-parent family that had one vehicle. Their car broke down. That's the only transportation to and from work. Do you pay your rent, or do you fix your car?
Yeah.
And so they had the struggle. So there's so many stories out there just like that, who people just need some little help. And it's funny that you talk about Jeff, because I know that they had all this ERAP money and they were giving away helping with millions and millions and millions of dollars. And I had a conversation with him not that long ago. And he's like, well, we only have this amount a month. I'm like, well, Jeff, you know what? I have $5,000 a month. I said, you know what? It's still making a difference. And I was at a meeting with him just the other day and he was like, Tina gave me this perspective. We don't have these millions, but we still have this. And you know what? That's still this. And he's like, thank you for giving that for that perspective. Because I'm like, oh, I would love to have your budget. But just the fact that, $5,000, on one hand, it's not a lot of money. It's a lot of money as far as a fundraising standpoint. That's $60,000 per year that in our budget we didn't have before.
Yeah.
So, that is something that we need to work towards. But I would love to be able to grow that and because it's a one-time payment. It's not a comeback. It's this one payment, we're going to help you get you over this little hump and then hopefully you succeed. I mean, because everybody needs a helping hand every now and then.
Yeah. Well, that's so good. So budget wise for Family Promise, how do you all get funded? I'm sure it's probably like outpatient thing. So what kind of view we have the pie? What does the pie look like?
We get no government funding.
No government?
No government funding at all. So it is all the generosity of foundations, individuals, businesses, and congregations that support our mission to end homelessness one family at a time. We write a lot of grants. We do have Tulsa's very philanthropic. We have a lot of wonderful, wonderful organizations that believe in what we're doing. And so we do have their support. Individual giving is down, just because the state of the current economy.
Okay.
But I've been able to write additional grants and keep it going. And like I said, we were able to get an additional $60,000 over and above our regular budget and to help families to keep them in their houses. So no, we receive no government funding. We get no United Way funding. It's all just the generosity of Tulsa's and foundations and a lot of grant writing.
So how much about what's your annual budget?
And right now it's about $315 now because we added the $60,000. So yeah,
that's quite efficient.
We do a lot with little. We do a lot with a little. So the first year, Family Promise, we helped 17 families. Last year, I haven't gathered the data for this year yet because we're not quite done. But last year we helped 750 people. So that's both inside and outside the program. So if somebody calls, if we can't help them with a prevention diversion, or if we can't give them immediate need, we always give resources. We're like, okay, how can we help you? What can we do? Have you called this place? Have you called this place? And we do have a wonderful partnership with Quick Trip. So every once in a while, somebody says, I just do a little gas. We can give them a gas card or, so we do help. We have a wonderful relationship with Bombas Socks. So we always share. We get about 1,000 socks from Bombas every single year. And we give them to all the families that we have, and we keep a little bit, but I don't store anything. The way I think about it is a blessing comes in, a blessing goes out. So Bombas knows that if when we get them, if we can't immediately use them, I'll share with before they were able to do, I would help the Be Heard movement or the Tulsa Day Center, or the Merchant, or Tulsa Cat Transitional Living Center. So I'll just go give them a couple packets of socks in there. So I love to share. I don't hoard anything because if our needs are met and our families are succeeding, why do I need to store it whenever I know I can help somebody else? So, and the way I look at it is, I'm with Family Promise of Tulsa County, but we are part of this continuum of care. And just because they're not in my agency doesn't mean they need help. And if I can do anything to help them, whether if it's in my program or not, I'm going to do everything I can to help.
Yeah. Well, I think that I think that I like that continuum of care because it makes sense when we're in school, right? We go from kindergarten to first grade and you pass it, and you get this development, and then people become adults, it's just like, well, good luck in some ways, right? They say, no, we need this. We're always going, always need something different. So what does that look like? So when your families graduate or leave, they've got a job, they've got some money saved up, assuming, and they've got a place to go to.
Correct.
Do y'all do any aftercare, or what
we do
look like?
We do follow up with them for at least 6 months to possibly a year. We do have another program also inside If families save a little bit of money and they need just a little bit of help, we can help up to $1,000 to help them get it moved in.
Okay.
That is a very small budget. I only have budgeted that it's $10,000, so I can't help every single family. But if a family has saved every penny they have, worked the program really, really good, and they're just a little bit short, we do have the opportunity to get their lights turned on or help get the first month's rent paid or something like that. So we do have that set aside. Again, I would like to grow that budget as well. But we try to train families once they get that savings program going that you deposit a large portion of that because you're not paying for anything while you're there. So not only do our congregations provide food, they get fully furnished apartments. We have quick trip gas cards that we give them, or we transport them in our car. So, and if they get food stamps or whatever, but most times the congregations, they can save their food stamps because the congregations are providing meals or gift cards or something like that. And so they're not having to spend a whole lot of money. And if they're not spending a lot of money, you can save a lot of money. So you're required to save, although we let you choose how much you want to have at the end, we talk about that. Okay, this is being provided for you. This is being provided for you. Can we deposit just a little bit more for you to have at the end? So we work with each family to make sure that happens.
That's so. You got your homeless prevention program. You got your housing, which is kind of short-term housing, which is the primary one, and then just sometimes because it is like expensive the first and last month's rent.
Yes.
On and if you have anything on your name beforehand, right?
It's impossible. So if you have an eviction, we nickel that. So if you come in, a single mom, let's say she has a $2,000 eviction, you're not getting, it's very, very rare that you're going to find another place to live. So in addition to that savings, we say, okay, let's set up a payment plan, pay that down. Let's get that paid off. And we've had so many families that have come in and paid off $2,000 in evictions, $3,000 in evictions, and then plus in addition, save some money. But because without that, it's going to be hard unless you have a special landlord that that will actually work with you, second chance landlord. Chances are you're going to have a really hard time if you have an eviction.
So second chance landlord, that's a phrase I've not heard, but I think I understand it. So a second chance landlord, or somebody who just kind of has a heart for
somebody who has a heart for families and for individuals, and stuff happens. Your car breaks down, you get sick or whatever, and there are certain landlords that will take that into consideration and just realize that people just need a hand up, and so there are second chance. With the second chance, a lot of the times you do have to have the first month's rent, the last month's rent, and a whole month's rent security deposit. Mm-hmm. So that's anywhere from, about $3,000. And I can come up with $3,000 just like that. So that's a lot of money. So you have that to factor in as well, is there are individuals out there that will help, but they do require much larger deposits and things like that just to keep them safe.
So I guess this sounds like a weird question, but I haven't rented. I haven't gone out to try to. So if I was going to look for a 3-bedroom house, not fancy, just a 3-bedroom house for rent in Tulsa, what am I paying? Each my monthly.
Like anywhere from $1,400 to $1,600 per month. As of right now, we would love to be able to expand. I can't literally find an efficiency for less than $900 per month, and that's what you pay in the utilities.
That is, no wonder
crazy.
No wonder we're at a crisis.
We are at a major crisis, and with the prevention of and part of that is a lot of out-of-state companies have come in and purchased some of our real estate, and that has hurt the people. I wrote a prevention check for $1,000, and it went to New York, and that literally broke my heart. But I wanted to keep this family this people from New York own this house. So there's been a couple complexes that have been purchased, no longer take Section 8 out of town. And then, $1,400 for an apartment here is outrageous. New York, that's a steal. So you have all these outside influences. I'm not saying that that's all of it.
Yeah.
It's a portion of it because the rents are just so high. I know that there are hundreds of people with vouchers in hand, Section 8 vouchers, that can find nowhere to live because there's not enough affordable housing and not enough Section 8 housing.
Okay, we're talking theory now. I like theory. So what do we do? What are you, as you see it? Again, I mean, and I can't imagine being a politician, but oftentimes politicians, they want to, it's, what can they do in a soundbite? And I know that, that there's way more than that. And people in the city of Tulsa have worked hard to kind of think more than that. But where do we go? You see us going forward? Because there's 139 people on your wait.
On my wait list. And that's just everybody. Yeah.
It's just a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
We drive by, we see people. I mean, there's 1,000, every person is a story, right? Their own thing. What do we get? Affordable housing? What's the steps ahead?
I know that Tulsa is working to get additional units they're going to be built. They have this big plan, but we got to help the people right now.
Yeah.
So there is a huge push for housing first, and which is a wonderful program. However, if you're not completely housing first, you're not eligible for any of the funding. So HUD defines literal homelessness as if you're living on the streets. The 99.9% of the families that we serve are not considered homeless, according to HUD. And that's why we can't get our hands on any of that additional funding to expand our program, because the families that we serve are couch surfing. They're McKinney-Vento, and McKinney-Vento is different from HUD. They're both federal agencies.
Yeah.
However, they just take cash. So HUD, it's crazy. So I was in a meeting, like I said, we're members of A Way Home for Tulsa. So we had our all-member meeting on Tuesday. And in one of those meetings, Jeff Janes and I was the facilitator. And we had a representative from Broken Arrow Public Schools, and then the McKinney-Vento representative from Tulsa. As of right now, there are over 2,400 children in Tulsa County and 787 children in Broken Arrow that are considered housing insecure or literally homeless. That is astronomical numbers. And because programs like myself and the Tulsa Transitional Living Center and things like that, yes, we're waiting and needing additional housing units, but what do we do for the families that are suffering right now? People can't wait 1 to 2 years.
Yeah.
They need somewhere to go. So if we had additional funding, we would be able to secure additional units and get, we can't help all 139 of those families right now, but it's, it would be nice if I had 10 to 12 more, and funding, you do have to, consider the funding. And because I can't find an efficiency for less than $100, that's not my budget. It's just not my budget. And I'm so grateful for the units that we have now, because they're all bills paid. And, I have a set amount that I pay every single month, and I can't have that, is the electric bill going to be $200 this month or $300 this month? And I have to budget that in there. And I just have not been able to find additional units. Yes, Tulsa is working, and all the agencies are working together to try to bring homelessness down. But we have to consider too, what can we do right now to help the families that are suffering? And they can't wait 2 to 3 years. Families can't wait.
Yeah, for 2,400 kids. It's like, hey, if you got a plan, when your kids in 8th grade, they're 5th grade now, but when they're in 8th grade,
they'll have a house to live.
Then, that's, it reminds me of I went to Lebanon to see a few years back, and with refugees, and somebody told me the average time of a refugee is 18 years. And, you just think, what's 2024? So that's, we go back to 2006. What were you doing in 2006? Can you imagine being homeless? What do I don't know. What is the average? Is there an average time that people are housing insecure or homeless? What is that? What is that? Or for some people, that's the life.
It's chronic. It's chronic.
Yeah.
A lot of it's chronic. And the fact that we deal with families and family homelessness is growing. It's really, really, truly sad. I don't have statistics. We could probably check the Housing Solutions website, because they do have wonderful data, and I wasn't prepared for that. But there's a lot of people in Tulsa that are struggling, and it breaks my heart that we are not able to help every single one of them.
Yeah. And obviously kids, right? But we have adults. So 2,400 in Tulsa.
Tulsa Public Schools.
In Tulsa Public Schools. Another 700 in
87 in Broken Arrow.
And there's a part of me that's like, oh yeah, Tulsa, of course. But that number in Broken Arrow is just astounding as well.
It's astounding because there are very little resources in Broken Arrow. So if a family becomes homeless, rid of the McKinney-Vento, and a lot of the times, if there's no resources, those families end up coming to Tulsa. And that's really hard on a child. Can you imagine being a kid? Everything is going wonderful. when your parents loses their job or get sick or something, you come home one day and all your belongings are in the car because you're getting evicted. I mean, the trauma of that is just astronomical. Then you go to the local shelter, there's no family rooms. And because there's no family rooms, guess what? You're getting separated from your father because children cannot be in general population, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But can you imagine the trauma of that child of losing their home, losing their friends, the only place that they've ever known? A lot of the times whenever they're sleeping in their car, sometimes the car gets repossessed. You know, they lose their car, they lose their home, and now they're losing their daddy too. That is so heartbreaking and so traumatic. You know, homelessness on children is so detrimental. It causes, a lot of them drop out early, sick, mental health. I mean, there's just so many conditions that can be stopped just by giving these families a secure place to call home.
Yeah. And you mentioned housing first. And so I listened to, a podcast not too long ago, which is how I begin a lot of sentences. I was listening to a podcast. Oh, I'm trying to remember who it was with. It was, Lee Camp has a podcast. I can't think what it's called, but he was talking, whoever it was talking to Housing First. So Housing First, as I understand it, is basically the first need that people have is housing.
Yeah.
If we put them in a home, then we give them other services. But if we say, okay, get your life together and then you get a home, it doesn't work out as well. Is that right? Is that basically right?
Yeah. So the Housing First. So basically they offer, they get families into a home or they get an individual in the home and they can pay up to a year's rent. And then after that time, it gives that person the opportunity to get ahead. And, a lot of the time, sometimes people don't get their lives together. So and I love Housing First, but it should not be across the board because there's not enough permanent supportive housing. And if a family is able and willing to work, I mean, they can get ahead without having to be permanent supportive housing. So I love the fact that Housing First, but it should not be an agency wide because literally 99.9% of the families that we have ever helped would never be on the by name list because they're not chronically homeless enough. Why can't we stop the cycle before it gets worse? So if we have a family that just needs a little bit of help and we bring them into our program and we train them and and then they become successful members of society, why can't we stop it before the HUD funding kicks in? Because before the HUD funding kicks in, you literally have to be homeless. So let's let you fail so we can help you. Why can't we be right here? And why can't we stop it before they have to fail? Because there's so many people that are falling through the cracks and can be stopped here before they get to that particular spot. But with the way HUD funding is set up, and as the consortium of the Way Home for Tulsa, we had this discussion. Why can't we broaden the definition to try to help people before they actually get to that spot? Because why does somebody have to be literally homeless before they can get the government assistance?
Yeah. And that narrow definition of us of living on the streets.
Yes.
Well, obviously I think when most people think about it, that's what they think about. But just broadening that definition. Now, I mean, I'm guessing that so to change the HUD definition, that involves legislature, all fun political stuff.
Yeah.
That is there something that is there somebody we could write to, or who do we say? Who do we knock on the door?
Mostly the congressman or somebody like that, because the HUD definition, and it's much broader. It's not just Oklahoma. It's everybody. All these people that are being missed when they're just not being counted. Like we have the point in time count. Every single year, Housing Solutions does this citywide count of all the people that are homeless. Well, if you're staying in a hotel and you're paying for it yourself, you don't count. I can't tell you how many families are in hotels. If you're sleeping on somebody's couch and doubled up, you're not homeless. So all of those people are being missed, and those people need help too.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just, I wish I had the answer, but it's got to be changed at the federal level to help families that are falling through the cracks, just because they shouldn't have to fail before they can get help.
Yeah. One of the things I like to think about is, there's mercy things, right? That's when I can like what churches do, right? You provide a meal.
Yeah.
And that's a great way we can tangibly help somebody. But then also we have these justice things, right? It's like there are these big problems that are not simple. I mean, they're complex and there's not one size fits all and, all that kind of stuff. And we need to, okay, how do we orient a world that does fill up those cracks, that provides dignity and all these kinds of things?
Yes.
Because that's the other thing is, we're human, right? And so if we've fallen all the way to becoming chronically homeless, right?
Yeah.
And that seems like, I would imagine feeling terrible. Just my dignity gone, my sense of
worth.
no so many times,
Yeah.
oh, well, you can't do this, but you're not bad enough for this. You're not good enough
Not
for
good.
this.
Yes, you're in the middle, and we need to find somewhere for the middle.
Okay.
We need to find some way to help the people in the middle because once you become chronically homeless, it is so hard to get out of that. I mean, it is so hard because if you can't take a shower, you can't go get a job. You can't, it's just all these things compounding on each other, to make it so difficult to get out. And that's for individuals and for families.
Yeah.
I mean, so like one of these shelters here in Tulsa, you do have to leave during the day. So if you have small children and you don't have daycare, how are you supposed to get a job to get ahead? So it's just the revolving loop. You need the opportunity to be able to take your breath and just have an opportunity to try to better yourself. And without that stable housing, it's very difficult. I mean, it's very, very difficult. And so when the families graduate, you were talking about graduating. So whenever they get their own house, everything that's in their apartment except for the furniture they take with them. So we have the congregations do wonderful supply drives for us. So every pot, every pan, every dish, everything, literally shower curtains, bath towels, sheets, blankets, pillows, they take it all with them, and then we replenish that for the next family and make it a home. So we do give them a little bit of a start.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we had the ability to do furniture, but furniture is really expensive to replace. But if it's not tied down, they take it with them.
Okay. Well, yeah. So that's something that is who's watching this and they think of a congregation like, hey, what can we do? We could do a supply drive. And
we can do a supply drive.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how much toilet paper we go through, how much of paper towels we go through, cleaning supplies. We need a lot of twin sheets. Everybody gets a brand new pillow. Nobody wants to sleep on nobody else's drool. I'm sorry. Everybody gets a brand new pillow and you take it with them. And we have a wonderful volunteer who makes custom little adorable pillowcases, and the kids get to pick them out, and it's so cute. So yeah, supply drives are fantastic because it does save our agency money, and we can use that towards rent, or we can use it towards prevention if we don't have to buy all this, this toilet paper and paper towels and stuff.
Yeah. So let's talk about you personally, because you don't just, how did you get involved in this company, this ministry, and like, what's your why?
What's my why? So I am a very techie person. So when the tech bubble burst, I went back to school as an adult to get my bachelor's degree. Very hard life. People say your past defines you, but I actually think it makes you stronger.
Okay.
And so, long story short, I went back to college as an adult and got my bachelor's degree and was studying business. I'm actually an IT professional,
Okay.
a graphic designer, and you name it, love it.
Exactly what yeah.
Which I love to do. But whenever I was going back to school, I got a part-time job in emergency infant services.
Okay.
And I was there for 16 years. And literally after being there for like 3 months, I'm like, you know what? This is where God wants me to be. I have to serve and make children's lives better. And even though I finished my degree, I'm like, I will never be able to get a tech job and make all this money because this is where God wants me to be. So I was in emergency infant services for 16 years.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. That is still my heart. I did leave to go to Women in Recovery for a year.
Yeah.
And that's where I got the knowledge to be able to help the family, to be able to get help put you in certain spots.
Absolutely.
And children are my passion.
Okay.
And although it was a wonderful program, I really felt the tug to go back to helping children. And I seen that Family Promise was hiring. And so I did multiple interviews, and Jeff actually called me and told me, he says, "We're sorry we went with somebody else." I'm like, okay, you know what? If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Jeff called me the next week and he says, "We made a mistake." So I have been there ever since. It's not a job for me.
Yeah.
It is a true passion. I wholeheartedly believe that we are here to help our fellow human. And if we've changed one person's life, we've made a difference. I am blessed because I get that opportunity every single day.
Yeah. So you're now, so because you've been there 5 years, is that
I've been there a little over 5 years. So Family Promise was 8 months old whenever I first started. Bet you it was a little like $100 and something thousand. So we've been able to grow it. Yeah,
employees are there?
there's two. Okay. We are small, but we are so mighty.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. So you have this, so yeah, so you're in this like so tech world, that sort of stuff. What was it about? So emergency infant services, you're there, like, is there a moment that you just remember that you're just like that? Oh, I'm in.
I do. I really do. So there was this lady, her name was Linda Watts, and she was literally the epitome of an angel that walked the earth. She was a member of First Presbyterian Church, and that's actually where Family Promise started, was Second Presbyterian and First Presbyterian Church. And just the love that she shared, and the kindness that she gave to children and to their parents was just so I mean, it just opened up my heart. And I've always been, a believer of God and things like that. But just to see her, the love that she showed to other people and the satisfaction that she got out of it, and it's not necessarily for her, but just the opportunity to help your fellow human. And literally, like I said, I was there for 3 months. I'm like, I need to probably change my degree to social work. But I went ahead and I went ahead and got it. And and I knew I could use those talents to further emergency services. So I did all the web design, I did all the graphic design, I did all the print design, and I do that for Family Promise as well. And I love it. So I still get to do my passion, but at the end of the day, yeah, the light bulb just went off, and I knew that I was going to be service oriented the rest of my life. And again, I said, whenever I found Family Promise, I wholeheartedly believe this is where God wants me to be, and I will stay here until God leads me somewhere else. And if He doesn't, I will happily spend the rest of my days at Family Promise.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, most people, I don't think most people get to find like that place. It seems rare. So to be able to find it and just to say, this is it, like,
This is it.
this
Yeah,
is it, and
this is it.
able to dig in
Yeah.
is good. What keeps you, so I mean, to me, the children, right? And that keeps you going, huh? And seeing them just light up, and that story you said about the bathtub and other sludge stuff. What a gift. Where do, yeah, I don't know. I'm still interested. What about these moments where there's a gap, right? Or the 139. I mean, that
It's heartbreaking. I can't, yeah.
because you're a caring person, that's
Yes.
the thing is like the people who do this often you have to care.
You have to care.
And then you just are also realizing, okay, great, I'm choosing both to help and also get heartbroken.
Yes.
So dealing with that tension, what's that like?
I have literally wore the word world on my shoulders. And it was a couple years ago. We've tried to expand multiple times and get our own facility. That's my dream. I want to have our own facility with at least 24 units. And we had time and time again where we would have something and it would crash. And we would have something and something would fall through. And so I'm just like, when God closes a door, maybe there's a window, So my struggle is it's not always easy. I can't tell you how many times I go home crying night, especially as the winter months come. We've literally had moms and dads bawling on the phone. Just, you can hear the desperation in their voices. And like, my child is going to freeze to death in the car if you don't help me. And knowing that you have no resource for this person, just hugs at your heart. And I struggled with it for a really, really long time. And then one day, after a really hard day, it was starting to affect me mentally and physically. And I just literally was just crying in the way home. And I just said, you know what, God, I have to give it to you.
Yeah.
I can be blessed and help the ones that we can, and I can pray for the ones I can't. But literally, I was having such anxiety that it was literally affecting me, not only at work, but at home. And yeah, I said, you know what? I can't carry this weight anymore. I'll have to give it to you.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I just had this peace.
Okay.
And don't get me wrong, I still go home every once in a while cry.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're helping 6 families at a time in the apartment shelter program. And like I said, I struggle with that. But you know what? To those 6 families were everything. And I just have to wait on God's timing. And if it's meant to be to expand, it will happen. If not, you know what? I have to be blessed helping the 6 families at a time and then the 80 with the prevention diversion. And that's where God wants it to be right now.
Yeah.
And there are many times that it still does affect me, but that conversation I had, I'm like, I just have to give it to you because I can't carry the weight. And that is so just overwhelming peace. You know, you just know that your heart still breaks, but you can't carry the weight. It's not up to you. You can just do what you can do and help the ones that you can and pray to the ones that you can't right now.
Yeah. So think of Andy Stanley say, I think, do for one what you wish you could do for, do for all. And it's like, yeah, I mean, because we get sometimes frozen, like, can't do all. And then I just got the slow work with God and just things like, I mean, I was at First Methodist downtown when the promise started. And that was when the era of staying.
Yeah.
2 weeks or 2 weeks at a church. Is that how long?
It's 1 week at a time. So the families would move every Sunday to a new congregation. And although it was fabulous, having their own place is so much easier. I mean, the graduation rates, the families were staying less time. It's so difficult, it was still such a blessing at the time. But watching from going from congregation rotation to families having a safe and secure place where they don't have to meet a new person every single week. And, I do miss the camaraderie though. I do wish I could find a way to bring the congregation in more and just to be able to wrap love around those families. Still working on that. I have quite a lot there yet, but the opportunity for these families to have just a place of their own and the children know that they're not homeless is just so much to me. And the way I look at it too is I know that the congregations and the volunteers lost an opportunity to meet with the families and be with the families and help the children and things like that. And that is a big part that I would like to find a way to get back. But although they don't see it, they're making such a difference. It's not just a meal. It's not just a gift card or something like that to let the parents do groceries. So a couple of weeks ago, we have a little 6-year-old little girl and Christchurch. It was their week. And the little girl was so excited when Emily, our case manager, went up and talked. And she goes, the 6-year-old little girl was so grateful for the congregations and all the volunteers. She goes, Emily, it's so nice that they bring us stuff. They make us feel so welcome and they make us feel loved. And she goes, and please tell the volunteer that brought the chicken Alfredo, that was my favorite. And that was just,
Yeah.
they don't have the opportunity to see it themselves, but oh my gosh, they're making such a difference. In that 6-year-old, that little 6-year-old girl that is so grateful for every volunteer that brings it. She just thank them for taking care of our family. And that was just, it's so heartwarming. But I wish I would have had a way, but just the volunteers to know it's not just a meal. It's not just a gift card. You're giving these people hope and you're giving these families and these children, you're letting them know that somebody else cares for them and loves them. And if we can plant that little bit of seed and just for them to know that people care for them, that helps them so much. And you never know what that's going to lead to. This 6-year-old little girl, could think later on in life, we could be this amazing person that's going to help, so many people
Because somebody helped.
because somebody helped her.
Yeah.
And just the fact that she said, please thank them for helping family. And this is a 6-year-old precious little child. And she's realizing that that others are out there that are helping and care for her.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think, one of the things I read a book, this is 2 decades ago, Believer. And it was about kind of this journalist from New York. It's like kind of put themselves from evangelical churches and what the experience was like. And he went on a short-term mission trip. And before he went on the mission trip, he talked about how he kind of was like, wouldn't it be better if they just sit in mud to feel good? But there's something about that personal investment. He's like, oh, these people bought in. And probably as I think about Family Promise, that initial season that was harder for families.
Yes.
It gave churches skin in the game. It gave them a chance to see, to feel, to touch. And that's needed. And but we also, I think, we also need to understand, like, we don't always get to see the results of our
Yes.
right.
Uh-huh.
We need that hands-on,
Tangible. Yeah.
and then also there's the maturity. Like, I'm giving, and I don't always get to know. I don't always get to see and touch, and that's a gift as well. That just to be generous for generosity's sake and trusting. That that good stuff and fruit is going to happen, because that's what you do in the kingdom of God. So well, so for you, you're in it. This Family Promise housing, and your big dream is more
Units. Yes. Units.
Setting, I mean, like, how's that pop? Like, what is that? What are the doors that have to open for that for you?
So the doors that have to open, because real estate is so crazy right now. So I can't tell you, whenever I said we had an opportunity and a failure and an opportunity and a failure. So if we find like a unit that we're interested in, we're kind of in a really hard spot. So we don't have the funding to purchase it. So when we reach out to this apartment complex that we want to purchase or whatever, they're like, okay, whatever. This is, this is what you need. And then by the time we actually go to a funder or something like that, it's already sold. So we're in this really weird spot. So we would love to be able to buy something. I don't have the money for it. I can't raise the money for it until I know what I got. So I'm just in this little weird trifecta of just craziness, and it drives me insane. But so I have to have the funding before I can purchase it, but I can't ask for the funding until I know what I'm going to buy. So I'm in this weird little trifecta. But my dream and my goal is families will never be data for us. Every family has a story, and every family is unique, and we treat them in that way. I don't see us ever growing to be like a mental health association, having huge apartment complexes or thing like that. I see us having like a 24-unit apartment complex, where we can help 24 families at a time. In addition to having the shelter program, I would like to have some of those apartments be transitional. And what that means is, let's say that they've gone through the 5 months and they're doing really, really good, and they just need a little bit more time. And then at that point, we could move them to the transitional. They could stay in the same apartment, but they could move to a transitional where you pay well below market rate, like $500 or $600 per month, for let's say 6 months. And then maybe have a couple of units that would generate funds for Family Promise that you just rent out. And then, so not very many that way, but I would love to be able to bring them into the shelter program, let them stay there, move them into the transitional, and by then watch them fly. I mean, because if you give these families an opportunity, that is my dream, and my goal is to have this 24 unit. And the reason I don't really see us having more than 24 is because, again, families are never data for me. I know we have to have data, which we do compile wonderful data, in order to get funding and things like that. These families are families. When these children come down, I know they can come in my office. I want to know them, and I want them to know that they're not just a number, that we really care for them. And to know that they can call us, 2 months or whatever, or after, or whatever, you tell us a story, or, I'm struggling. Do you have a resource? I want to build the relationships with these families, so I know that there's somebody out there that cares. So I'll never see us getting really, really big. Although the need is so huge, I want to make sure that the families know that they're still families and they're never data.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's such a good perspective, because so you want them to feel seen.
Yes.
And I went to Tulsa Town Hall, and they had, I can't remember his name. He Homeboy Industries, Father John, I think something. But he talked about that there's a big difference between being watched, being seen, and it's like, oh, that's so like. So who saw you? Like, what was, did you have that moment growing up? Who made you feel seen growing up?
Well, I had my life could be very different. So, my father was killed when I was 8, and my mother had nervous breakdowns. So I was like an adult from the time I was 8. Took care of my mom. like I said, your past doesn't define you, but it makes you who you are. And had horrible a stepfather that just did horrible things to me, and things like that. So, like I said, you know, just because terrible things happen to you doesn't mean that you can't overcome them.
Mhm.
So I always had this mindset from the time I was 8 years old that um I would always try to be self-sufficient, and I would never depend upon. And I know that's really hard for an 8-year-old, but I just this mindset growing up that I would always try to make myself where I could take care of myself. I would never have what I never wanted to depend upon anybody else. Things happen as a teenager. I actually dropped out of high school. Whenever I turned 18, I got my GED, and didn't think I was smart enough to go to college and whatever. And started in the tech industry, loved it. I love computers, A+ certified. I could tear them down, I could build it. Love technology, and just kind of grew into this. And then whenever the tech bubble hit, I just like, what, I'm going back to college, and then I graduated with honors. Didn't think I could do it, So everybody has your past doesn't define you. But it makes you stronger, and it makes you who you want to be. And then, like I said, whenever I started emergency event services, I knew that's where I was going to be for the rest of my life.
But it makes sense to me. I mean, part of your heart for children, because you know what
Yes,
it's like for
I know what it's like.
to be an 8-year-old to be the mom.
Yep. Or to go for a Christmas and not have anything underneath the tree. I know what that's like. And I don't ever want that to happen to any other children. And not that I didn't have a good childhood, it's just different. It's just a difference, and that's just, it just makes you really grateful for what you have. And if you can do anything to make sure that that doesn't happen to another child,
Mhm.
or that heartbreak and that just pure desperation, whatever I can do to make that not happen, I'm going to do it.
Well, that I put it kind of some of these pieces together in my own head now, but
Mhm.
and then part of your goal of like self-sufficiency, right? And helping these families to become self-sufficient. And that's part of what you need. And then you have this traumatic, I could probably ask a ton of questions. I won't ask a ton of questions,
Yeah.
but just the trauma you went through, what was healing like? When did healing happen for you?
Well, I've always been very religious. My father was a part-time pastor,
Okay.
so losing him was really difficult. I have an older brother. He's 4 years older, and he just kind of rebelled, and he went on his own way. So I was there. I had to take care of my mom. I just had to. And I lost my mom. So I lost my dad when I was 8, and I lost my mom when I was 28. So I have been, it doesn't, no matter how much you love your parents or whatever, losing them at such a young age is just, it's mind-boggling. To automatically think, I'm like an orphan in this world, even though, I took care of my mom and stuff like that. You still have that person to call. I called her every single day. I talked to her, literally whenever I worked in Italy for a month as part of the tech. I literally called her from Italy every single day. And just to lose that connection was really, really difficult. I've always been the caregiver. So, I've always taken care of my mom, and I take care of my elder brother. So it's just, I don't know, healing just I think it just kind of happened. And I think whenever I found what I was supposed to do in life, I think that really helped us. I can't really pinpoint it, but just knowing that I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that that trauma doesn't happen to another child, and just honestly being able to provide the diapers and the formula and everything just to children, and realize how much that was helping. That was just literally from that moment, literally 3 months in, that was my heart. And I'm like, I will do everything I can to help every child on this earth, whatever I can do to help them.
Yeah. So yeah, just care,
Just care.
giving back, giving forward,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff as a way. And I do think, there's, and I'm not an expert in this, but like there's trauma, and then there's the trauma after the trauma, and then there's trauma after the trauma after the trauma. I mean, like it could you build, but then if you get one way I think about grace is like grace is a great interrupter.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's this boom, and then there's boom, and it's somewhere in the midst of things,
Yeah.
okay, this tension, this instant
Yes.
love. It's like,
Yeah.
this is it.
This is it.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was really, my life could be so different. Things so different if I would have let my circumstances point out who I was supposed to become. But honestly, I think losing when the tech bubble hit and just losing my whole world, like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? And going back to school and then going to EIS and just the mentorship that Linda Watts gave me was just, I think that was literally the turning point. I was 28, you know, tech bubble. I'd already taken care of myself. Already lost my parent, my mom, when I was 24. So I was in this world with my adoring husband. I absolutely adore him. We've been together since we were 16. But yeah, so it just, I think that's the turning point to watch how much love and compassion she had for others and just literally giving 100% of herself to help other people. And it wasn't just the children and the families. I mean, she was a great mentor for me. And she just showed me God's love. And like I said, she was literally an angel that walked the earth. And I think I owe a lot of her. I owe her a lot just for the passion that I have to help other people because she showed me it was possible. And she showed me that how much this fulfillment you can have from helping other people.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. And again, it makes me think, yeah, she was, you had a mom, provided a motherly aspect of life and a role model type thing that you just needed in that way. And that's, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem. No, I'm happy. I'm happy to share. I'm an open book. And like I said, we all have the ability to choose which path we take.
Mm-hmm.
And just because you've had horrible circumstances in your past, that doesn't have to define you. You can overcome it. And with people, surround yourself with people who love you and can give you the caring and compassion that you need, because everybody has an opportunity to change somebody's life. And just, you don't have to let your past define you because they could be in a totally different place. And I chose not to be.
Yeah, I think that's probably in your role too. When there are people who are there who are, and again, everybody has a story, and they're all just right. It's hard, there's, I don't think anybody's like, what, I want to live a life of be insecure about my housing. And it's easy to let our circumstances and just, boy, I did this and it failed, or this thing happened to me and I didn't do anything and burn it or deserve it. And then now what? Life is just unfair.
Okay. It is, yeah.
Life is unfair. And then, but to be able to see somebody, to talk to somebody who says, I'm
yes,
been here, we could show you the way of.
one possibility. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think that, again, that makes just a lot of sense for families because we need that. Like, okay,
we do.
It's possible.
It is possible.
It's possible to find our way out. All right, I've got a few more questions.
Yes.
What are you learning? What are you reading? What are you listening to? Who's inspiring you now?
I listen to Christian radio on the way to work, and just on the way to work and on the way home. Is there
a favorite song you have right now?
Oh my gosh, no, I love them all. I do. I really do love them all. Yeah, no, I get so, it just fills me.
Right.
You never know. I think one of your questions was, what is a day like? What is a week like? My husband always asks me on like a Monday morning, so what's ahead of you? I'm like, I don't know till I get there, because you don't know if you're going to have family that's having a crisis or something like that, or who's going to call you that specific day. And I use that to, it just lifts me up in the morning and prepares me for what I'm going. Just the worship music just prepares me for what I'm going to face during the day.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I worship again on the way home, just thinking and praising God for what He let me do that day.
Yeah.
I kept 7 families in their homes that day, and we have 6 families that I know that those children are going to be safe and secure. And that's just, I just use that as just, it's my going home. I have a 45-minute drive, so both ways.
Oh, wow.
So so we live I live in Hominy. It's actually right on the Skytook Hominy line.
Okay.
So we live off of out by the lake. We have 40 beautiful acres, and we live on top of a hill. And so I just get to reflect. And ever since I did say that, where I gave it to God, it's just I get to go home and I get to spend time with my son and my husband and not try to worry about what happened that day. A lot of times it's hard, but yeah, no. So it's a true blessing. But I do listen to worship music on the way to or from work. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Provide that just with
Provide just that what you need, and just lately with the political climate too, I'm like just the noise and the clutter. And you just got to give it away.
Yeah.
I had a friend, I don't know how he did it, but he had a tree that he had like by a place that he worked. And he said he would just give his problems to the tree on his way out. And then when he would, and then when he came back, he just picked it all up. And I just thought, well, I don't know how you do that, but that's amazing.
It's more difficult than what you can imagine, but honestly, because like I said, my husband and I had been together since we were 16, and we didn't think we could have children. And so I had Revan a lot. I'm old enough to be his grandma, but I'm actually his mama. And so I worked really hard for this child. But I do have a 14-year-old and a 14-year-old son that is honestly a true blessing from God, and I owe it to him to not let what happens during the day affect me at night. And it was affecting my home life. And that's why I said, I just have to give it to God, and I can do what I can and be blessed for the ones that we can help and pray for the ones that we can't, because my child deserves to have my full attention when we get home and not have to worry. Mom's got to do this. Don't get me wrong. I do answer emails from home and stuff, but I try not to let it take full.
And I think that, one of the things I've learned about is a kind of the study of differentiation. Like how do I, too much, if I lean too much in, I'm enmeshed. That's unhealthy.
Yeah.
If I'm too much away, I'm attached. That's not healthy. So to be differentiated, I know where you are. I know where I am. We're connected, but we're not, enmeshed. And it is hard because we care. So because we get our work value and all that kind of stuff and what we do, but then, we can become just, I remember there was a time it was the end of the summer. We had promised our boys we're going to go to the water all summer long. And, it's just done. So things happen. Yeah, this kid do it now, kid. So finally, like, today's, because you got school next Monday. So I remember going to the walk park, and right before I got there, checking my email on my phone, and I got one of those emails, and you're just like,
Oh, I know.
And it says, put the phone in the locker and go and swim. But like, I remember being in the pool, and I remember thinking like about this email, and I remember consciously thinking like, Aaron, you are literally in the pool with your kids. Like, these are the good days.
Yes.
And you're missing them.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I cannot do anything about it. I don't know, those like kind of transformative moments for me in a way that just like, I gotta be,
do it.
I've got to be here. And like, I can't let those things, as important as they are, and of course, you can remember what the emails about.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as important as I missed to see. This is what matters.
Yeah.
And being able to be present is
yes. Well, and then also too, you have to have things outside that you love, and outside of helping and things like that. And what would really surprise you is I do have a way to blow off steam afterwards. My husband and I are pyrotechnicians. So we're part of a pyro club, and we just go on weekends, and we take our child, and we literally have a blast. So we have a great way to blow off steam.
Okay. So I have never heard of a pyro club.
A pyro club.
So I mean, so you go on a Saturday.
Uh-huh.
I'm assuming somewhere out in the woods somewhere.
No. So we literally, we just had, it's called Sooner Skyfire Showdown. This is our second year of having it. We bring competitors from all over the country to come in and compete, and they do pyro musicals. And it was literally just November 2nd, completely free to the public. So next year, so this was in Muskogee, Oklahoma at Hatbox Field.
Pyro musicals?
Pyro musical. So what a pyro musical is?
These are things I did not know I needed.
Yes. No. So a pyro musical is fireworks dancing to music. So basically, every note, it'll actually match to a comet or a gerb or something, and it flows. And we had competitions. We had 4 teams competing to be the Sooner Skyfire champion. And the one that won was a Christmas theme, and he actually made a Christmas tree out of the fireworks. So it's.
Can I like Google this?
You can actually go to SoonerSkyfireShowdown.com, or you can look up the Facebook page, Sooner Sky Fire Showdown. I do all the social media for that and all the videos and everything. So, yeah, no, it's amazing. You'd be, I mean, it's just simply magical. And the video with the Christmas tree is on there.
I would have, okay. Now I'm going to have to go do Sooner Skyfire
Sooner Sky Fire Showdown.
Showdown. Okay. I had no idea that existed. I mean, it doesn't surprise, anytime I've learned of something that I didn't know existed, it's like, oh, but that makes sense that, people, whatever it is, that would be the
Yeah.
kind of the thing. So it's like, I know some people like who do like the Christmas lights, just medium. So it's kind of like that.
But yeah, like fireballs, and like you'll say, I'm on fire, and like a fireball will shoot up. And so it's magical. It really is magical.
Okay. Okay. Well, all right. So I do have some grass. Oh, no, that's actually very, again, one of the reasons I want to do this is like learn things I would never have imagined. So, yeah. So healthy.
Sing to a lot of people because I have this, this helping demeanor and stuff. Well, yeah, I like to bless it. So it's a great stress reliever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's say some people go for runs, other people, do art, and you blow things up.
I blow things. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I'm going to do at the end of all these podcasts is do rapid fire questions. So,
Okay.
I'm inspired by the name of Steve Cutts. He's written some books and he has a podcast. He calls it the Gauntlet. So, so these are, I didn't give you these ahead of time.
That's okay. I'm good.
Well, I
I'm
want
ready.
your initial reaction, just rapid fire.
Okay.
What is your favorite word?
Poke.
Oh, favorite sound?
Fireworks.
No, this one he's now. All right. What if I was to go into your house? What would be the most unique thing I would find?
At this very second, I have a life-size Santa standing in my living room.
Christmas already. I mean, we're filming this in like mid-November. It may not be shown until later, but life-size Santa. Okay.
Life-size Santa and a life-size Grinch. Yeah.
Okay.
I know it's not even Thanksgiving yet, but my house is fully decked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite place to eat in Tulsa area, broadly speaking. I know since you live events away, broadly speaking.
Dax Barbecue in Skytook. It is phenomenal.
What should I order there?
Sliced brisket. They have a Frito chili pie that's really good too, but the brisket and the ribs are really, really good. They just they had the Tulsa award and they just won. So Max Barbecue, highly recommended in Skytook, Oklahoma.
Okay. Somebody's coming from out of town, maybe to go do the fireworks. Where do you show them first?
Probably the Gathering Place.
Okay.
Yeah, it's such a unique thing we have in Tulsa that a lot of communities bigger than us don't have. So that's fantastic. Or the Mother Road Market. That's always really fun to go in there and let people.
And I love the Mother Road Market because people don't have to worry about, do you like such and such? Do you eat healthy? Do you eat unhealthy? What, well, either they have a bragging spot, whatever they
want.
And they did do in Tulsa as well. What is a habit that you are currently working on?
Habit that I'm currently working on. Sometimes the ability to say no. Because I tend to try to say yes and I get myself into situations. So I need to learn to say no. Or the habit of saying no.
Okay. What is your favorite family tradition?
Probably all of our family gathers at every single holiday. We have different houses that we go to. So like my sister-in-law has Thanksgiving, my nephew has Christmas, and just the opportunity to get together with family. And it's not about the stuff that you get or whatever. It's about the time you get to spend together.
Okay. Yep. What is the most adventurous thing you've ever done?
The most adventurous thing I've ever done, probably build fireballs. No, other than that. Whenever I was young, I went to Italy by myself, with my husband for the first week, and then I was in Italy for 3 weeks by myself because I was teaching people how to run a program. So I lived in Italy for a little over a month.
Okay.
It was very adventurous, and that was only the second time I'd ever been on a plane. So that was,
That's a
that's a long flight.
Yes. Yeah. What is something that you're currently rethinking?
What am I rethinking? I can't say that I am rethinking anything because honestly, I am quite content where I am. I would like to rethink health, things like that. being 52, I wish we could have had my child younger because, he's never had grandparents, which is really sad. So thinking of things like that. But other than that, I can't think of anything.
What do you wish someone had told you 10 years ago?
That you have the ability to be an executive director and that you can make a difference.
Okay. Okay. Very good. All right. Last question. When have you most recently felt loved?
This morning.
What happened this morning?
Every morning before we go to school, my child always hugs me and he always tells me he loves me. And although he's 14 and he'll probably kill me for saying this, we actually cuddle at night before we go to bed. So yeah, yesterday was my husband's birthday, and my son went to Life Church last night to switch, and they came back, and we always made time to come together as a family and just wish my husband happy birthday. But it's for a couple minutes before he goes to sleep.
Oh.
Yeah.
We have a 15-year-old and 12-year-old. Then our 12-year-old's kind of the naturally cuddly one, but our 15 now, he'll come in bed sometimes, lay down, and he's just like, and we know, like Aaron knows that we like it, but we also know he needs to go to bed.
He needs to go to bed. Yeah.
When for all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going around. So-
And I know that's going to stop before too long, but the fact that he's 14 and he still comes in there and he just tells us how important we are, and it just warms your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's somebody told me, there's a last time for everything, right?
It is, yeah.
And it's like, oh, when is the last time I'm going to carry him to bed? I'll probably not make carry him, right? Or when's the last time he's gets, or when's the last time, all these things that.
And they sneak up on you, and then you wish that, oh my gosh, what had happened? Crawling up on your lap. Yeah. You're like, he's too big. He's bigger than I am. So it's a little he's as tall as I am. So yeah.
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 Well, thank you so much. This has been so good, and I'm just so appreciative that you took the time, and I just really do. I mean, what gives me hope and encouragement is that there are people like you who are caring, who are thinking, who are working to end homelessness one family at a time, right?
Yeah, definitely. And just know that how grateful we are for not only Christ Church, but for the other congregations that help support us, because without your support, we wouldn't be here. And we are so grateful for you and all the volunteers and everybody and all the congregations, because they made it happen in the very beginning, and they've made it possible for us to help as many families as we can. And without them, it wouldn't be possible. So we're very grateful.
All right. And so Family Promise is the Family Promise of Tulsa.
FamilyPromiseTulsa.org.
Family Promise Tulsa.org. I'm assuming you put all that together. And also very good. Well, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
So that was our conversation with Tina. We have another great conversation for you next week. Sarah Grounds, who's the executive director of City Lights Tulsa. And Sarah's going to talk about her journey from being a nurse to how God kind of unfolded this ministry to our unhoused friends, and just sort of what they're doing in City Lights, beginning kind of with Thursday Nights Under the Bridge and how that's evolved and what they're going to be doing, building some housing and the City Lights Village that they're looking to do. And so it's fascinating. You're going to love it. Can't wait till next week with our next episode of the Tulsa Neighbor Podcast. We'll see you on Thursday. So, Sarah, tell us your favorite story about City Lights in 90 seconds.
Well, there's a ton of them, but I think the one that has always been the most life-changing for me was kind of over a couple-week period when we first started Nightlight, which is our program under the bridge. And we had a foot washing station where we washed people's feet and put new socks on. And I had been picked to run that station. And so I was running that station. Nobody was coming up because, it's kind of a weird thing.
Yep.
And so I was asking around, asked a lot of people, nobody wanted their feet washed. And so I had come up on this table, and these guys were probably in their 20s, and just said, does anybody want your feet washed? And a guy was like, I guess. And then I panicked because I was like, oh my gosh, now I have to do this. So he came over and I washed his feet. And as I was washing his feet, he was just telling me about his life. His name was Hurricane. He had lost everything in Katrina, moved here from New Orleans. And I finished up and looked up at him and kind of tapped him on the leg. And I made eye contact and said, "Thank you for spending your time with me." And he diverted his eyes and told me that I was making him feel uncomfortable, that he didn't like eye contact, which left me in a really, I didn't know what to do, just kind of thought like, I think I know what I'm doing, but I really don't know what I'm doing, and just felt really torn over that moment. And I said, "I'm so sorry." And he went on his way. And the next week I was still in charge of that station. And so I set up and really had just toiled over that all week, and that interaction, and questioned what I was even doing out there. And I think at the beginning of the night, most people need food before they need their feet washed. And so usually kind of stand back and let people eat. But I saw him come from the corner of the bridge, and he walked right over to me and he looked me right in the eye and said, "Sit down, now it's your turn."
Mm.
And he washed my feet. And there's just so many things that I learned from those moments and from him and from that relationship. And I think, like, when I think of like one of my favorite stories, there's so many of them. There's just so many over the past 11 years. But that one for me is kind of a North Star, right? Like, it's like something that I can always go back to and say, like, this was a powerful moment in my life that I'm so grateful for, and that I can go back to and recenter on this work and on people and on relationships. And so that was probably my favorite story.
So yeah.